The Druids were a group of high priests. They lived between about 300 BC to about 200 AD. They were Celts. Not much is known about the Celts, although they are usually associated with Ireland. They lived in northwestern Europe and the British Isles, but the Druids were an interesting bunch. They were essentially the religious and intellectual leaders. They were the spiritual guides, the keepers of culture, the lawgivers, the medicine men. This meant to become a Druid, you had to learn a lot of stuff, years or even decades of learning. But here's the thing. The Druids were, even back then, very old school. They thought that if you needed to learn something from written text, that was a sign of a lazy brain. That if you needed to write something down to remember this, that was a sign of a lazy brain. Everything they learned and taught was only through speaking and listening. Imagine if you had to get a degree that way. You could only listen to lectures. You couldn't write anything down. All your tests were oral exams. Most modern people would fail, but because the Druids lived like this, and they did so for several hundred years, this means it is possible. This is the potential of your brain, of your learning brain. Most modern brains are like a 2-ton couch potato who's never left the house. The Druid brain is like a highly trained Navy SEAL. This is what your brain can be like if you train it correctly. It's certainly not a magic trick, but think of what this will do for your life. Many dudes spend hours in the gym every week, losing body fat and gaining muscle. But very few people do anything for your brain. Now, I'm sure you can think of several times in your past when you did do something for your brain. You wouldn't be listening to these words right now if that wasn't true. So you already know how to do stuff like this. It's really just a question of degree. With the right mindset, the right consistent practice, you can develop a Druid brain. And I'm sure you can guess this will be much more valuable than a six-pack in a V shape. With a Druid brain, you can outthink anybody. You can out-argue anybody. You can out-persuade anybody. Most people can't think without referencing their phones, so when they see you and your super genius Druid brain, they will treat you like a god. To get started, visit mindpersuasion.com/fierce-focus.